Rick Casales from ExercisesForInjuries.com. I wanted to welcome you to this video on 5 stretches that are injuring your back and what to do instead. Okay, the first exercise I wanted to go through is the double knees to chest. So you oftentimes see this, a lot of times it's given to people with back pain, and what it is people end up bringing their knees towards their chest and they really pull with their hands, and they might even bring their heads up and back down. Now with this one, what it ends up doing is it puts a high load of stress in that low back, because what it ends up doing is flattening out the back, and whenever you flatten out the back or bend that back forward, it puts a high load on that back, and it increases the risk of injury in that back, and it also increases the risk of re-injury. So we want to end up avoiding that. And what we can do instead of that exercise is we can end up doing a cat and dog stretch. So Alan, I'll get you to flip over and do into like a 4-point position. And then what Alan is going to do is he's going to drop his head, round out through his, we'll go up. You're like an angry cat. There we go. Rounding up through that mid-back, going through that, good. And then we're going the opposite way. And lifting your head up, dropping your stomach, keeping the arms where they are, straight, arms straight, good, good. And then back up. So yeah, rounding out, good. And alternating back and forth, dropping down, dropping that back, bringing that head back up, tilting that pelvis. So now what we're doing is we're working on the mobility of that spine. Good. And I'll get you to lie back on your back. So with this cat and dog stretch, what we're doing is we're working on improving that mobility and movement throughout the whole spine. So when it comes to the low back, there's specific movements that we need to improve the mobility of that back. And a lot of times in that mid-back, people end up being really stiff, and they need to improve that movement in order to decrease the stress in the back. Now the second stretch that people oftentimes will do is number 2, which is a variation on the first one, and that is single knees to chest. So that's bringing one knee to the chest, pulling it tight to the chest. Some people might even bring their heads up. They might just go to a hold, or they'll hold for 20, 30, or even 60 seconds. Once again, this is a bad exercise. It puts less stress on the back compared to 1, which was double knees to chest, but it still ends up putting a high load of stress on the back, increasing the risk of injury, increasing the risk of irritation. And what I would recommend to do other than this exercise would be the one that we did before, which is the cat and dog stretch. And a few experts have said that just doing that cat and dog stretch is like one of the best exercises that you can end up doing for your back. Now let me go into the third stretch that's horrible for your back. So I'll get Alan to move into a standing position. And with this third stretch, what it is, it's a toe-touching hamstring stretch. So I'm going to get Alan to try to touch his toes. Okay, and I'll get you to stand up, Alan. I'll get you to do it facing the wall. And once again, we're really rounding out through that back. We're really putting a lot of load on that spine. Okay, and I'll get you to stand up. So with this one, once again, it puts a high load in that back, lots of stress in the back, and it increases the risk of back injury, back pain, or a re-injury to the back. If you're going to target the hamstring stretches, what I like to do instead of this one is the deadlift hamstring stretch. So with this one, feet are about hip width apart, knees are bent, and Alan's going to reach down and go till he feels a light stretch in the hamstrings, and then come back to straight. Knees are slightly bent, reaching down until he feels a light stretch in the hamstrings. And back up. I'll get you to do a few repetitions. Now, if you don't feel it with the knees bent, you can have the knees straighter, and then you'll end up feeling that stretch sooner. And back up. And what I'll end up getting people to do is like one set of 5 repetitions. And I didn't mention it when it comes to the cat and dog stretch. What I would end up doing is like 1 set of 5 repetitions, and there's no hold, you kind of come to a stop, but I would progress to like 1 set of 10 repetitions, and then same with that deadlift hamstring stretch. I would move on to 1 set of 10 repetitions. Okay, now we're going to move from standing, and I'm going to get Alan to lie on his back, knees bent. So now the next one, number 4, of a horrible back stretch is, a lot of people will put their feet together like this, and then they'll drop their knees to one side. Now this ends up putting a lot of torque and twist in that low back. And this torque and twist might feel good, but it's putting a lot of bad stress or negative stress in the back, and it increases the risk of injury, pain, and re-injury of the back. So we want to avoid doing this to the back, putting the back in that kind of position. What I recommend people to do is a rocking, knees rocking side to side. So they'd be in this position, and they would just rock the knees side to side. So if this was 0 degrees, they might go 10 to 20 degrees to one side and 10 to 20 degrees the other side. So I would just end up doing a rocking movement. And what I'm looking at is 1 set of 5 repetitions each side, and I can progress to 10 repetitions. Perfect. Now, to the last one, to the last exercise that is horrible for the back, the last stretching exercise. We're looking at number 5 is pulling the knee across. So you'll see it. It's a progression of the one before, where people will, one leg straight, and they'll bring this knee across as far as they can. And if you've ever been to the chiropractor, you know that they end up putting you in this position in order to realign your spine. And then back. And for them, they're experts, and they know what they're doing. But for you and I that are just going there and doing a stretch, what that does is it puts a high load of stress on that back, increases the risk of injury, increases the risk of re-injury, increases the risk of pain. So what I would end up doing is I would eliminate that one. It was an exercise that I used to give 10 years ago when I was newish out of school. Now it's absolutely an exercise I do not do. A stretch that I cringe when I see in the gym, and I highly encourage people not to do. The alternative that I end up doing is, I'll get Alan to stand up, is I will end up getting them to a sitting exercise. And this one's called, which I will see, is called sitting and rotating. So he's moving his back away from it. Yeah, you're going to cross your arms like a genie, and you're going to rotate to one side and then to the other. And we're doing 1 set of 5 repetitions on each side. Awesome. So there you go. That ends up being the 5 stretches that are injuring your back and what to do instead. So I challenge you for the next week to give those alternate exercises a go and see how your back ends up feeling. So this is Rick Cassells from exercisesforinjuries.com saying take care and bye-bye.